In the late 20th century, America found itself grappling with a new widespread threat. Across cities and suburbs, the grip of drug addiction was tightening. From street corners to the highest corporate offices, a battle was being waged. A battle that would forever change the course of the United States of America.
I began the meeting by making this statement, which I think needs to be made to the nation. America's public enemy number one in the United States is drug abuse. In order to fight and defeat this enemy, it is necessary to wage a new all-out offensive.
What was the war on drugs? It was a series of actions aimed at reducing the illegal drug trade from production to distribution and consumption. It's both a literal war involving law enforcement, military, and a cultural campaign against drug use. The war on drugs was not strictly politics and legislation. It consisted of cultural campaigns, some of which took the shape of advertisements.
I get angry just thinking about it makes me mad. Little kids doing drugs, it turns my stomach. That stuff hurts. It stops you from living up to your potential. It holds you back. It hurts the user. It hurts his family. And it hurts his friends. I just want to shake some sense into you kids that are using drugs and thinking about using. So remember, don't, or else. Okay?
It's yours?
No,
My mother said she found it in your closet.
I don't know. One of the guys
Must have what?
Look, Dad, it's
Where
not...
did you get it?
Dad,
Answer me. Who taught you how to do this stuff?
You, all right? I learned it by watching you.
Parents who use drugs have children who use drugs.
The war on drugs, often perceived as a modern spectacle, has deep historical roots dating back to the early 20th century. The journey began with the passing of Harrison Narcotics Tax Act in 1914, and U.S. federal law that regulated and taxed the production of importation and distribution of opiates and cocaine products. At the time, substances like opium, morphine, and cocaine were widely available and used in various medications. However, rising concerns over addiction and social problems associated with these drugs led to increasing calls for regulation. The Harrison Act aimed to curb the non-medical use of these substances, setting the stage for the subsequent drug control measures to come. This was followed by a pivotal turning point for drug control in the Roaring '20s. Although the Roaring Twenties is commonly viewed in a positive light, from a drug control perspective, the Roaring Twenties was a period marked by the Prohibition era, which banned the production, sale, and transportation of alcohol from 1920 to 1933. Although primarily targeting alcohol, this era significantly influenced drug regulation and enforced attitudes. During this time, the government increased efforts to control narcotics and other drugs. Viewing substance abuse as a significant social problem, the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, established in 1930, reflected its growing focus on drug enforcement, setting the stage for further drug control policies and the broader war on drugs. The war on drugs has had profound economic and social impacts, particularly in terms of cost and incarceration rates. Economically, it has resulted in substantial government spending on law enforcement, judicial processes, and prison systems, diverting resources from other potential investments like education and healthcare. The emphasis on stringent drug laws and mandatory minimum sentences led to a dramatic increase in incarceration rates, having a devastating effect on minority communities.
Since Nixon's announcement in 1971, the rates of male incarcerations have increased dramatically. Ever since this announcement, federal spending on drug control continues to go up.
Research from the Sentencing Project proves vast race-based disparities when it comes to the lifetime likelihood of imprisonment for different groups. Black and Latino men have noticeably larger chances to be imprisoned throughout their lives when compared to their white counterparts. Furthermore, FBI crime reports show the change in number of arrests of Black Americans from 1980 to 2011. Exemplifying the vast impact felt by African American communities.
The war on drugs has significantly shaped U.S. influence in Latin America, primarily through policies aimed at curbing drug production and trafficking. The U.S. has provided substantial financial aid and military assistance to Latin American countries to combat drug cartels and enforce anti-drug laws. Initiatives like Plan Colombia and the Merida Initiative reflect this involvement, aiming to strengthen local law enforcement and reduce drug-related violence. These interventions have also sparked controversy and criticism, with some arguing that they have exacerbated violence and instability in the region, while others point to the heavy human and economic costs borne by Latin American countries. Many believe that it is too much intervention.
Sitio sin pedir permiso, se introdujeron en una casa donde estaban construyendo. Después, como a 60 o 50 metros más abajo, donde bajaron una vereda y otros en la carretera, llegaron a una casa, lo rodearon y tomaron del cuello a una compañera cargando su bebé.
Initially, there was a broad support for strict anti-drug measures and tough on crime policies, reflecting concern over rising drug use and associated crime. However, over time growing awareness of the social and racial inequities in drug enforcement, the high economic costs, and the limited success in reducing drug abuse led to increasing public skepticism. This shift has driven a movement towards more progressive policies emphasizing drug decriminalization, harm reduction, and treatment over punitive measures. Large protests proceed to commence as the people demand for a change. With these protests, change did come towards a more fair system and other reforms along it. Some of these are decriminalization and legalization of marijuana. Many states have moved to decriminalize or fully legalize marijuana for medical and recreational use, significantly shifting away from the punitive approaches of the past. This change aims to reduce incarceration rates and redirect law enforcement resources. Policies like the Fair Sentencing Act of 2010 reduced the disparity in sentencing between crack and powder cocaine offenses, addressing some of the racial injustices in drug sentencing. The establishment of drug courts provides an alternative to incarceration for drug offenders, focusing on rehabilitation through supervised treatment programs. First Step Act, enacted in 2018, this bipartisan legislation includes measures to reduce mandatory minimum sentences for certain drug offenses, improve prison conditions, and enhance reentry programs to reduce recidivism.
While the intensity of the war on drugs has waned since the 1980s, its profound effects remain starkly evident. Racial disparities persist, with incarceration rates of minorities still alarmingly high. The future holds promise, but the journey towards meaningful reform must continue. Thank you for watching our documentary.